What's happening, guys? Welcome to Table Talk, and today we're going to talk about games that still don't actually exist. What's happening, guys? I'm Andrew, and today we are talking about the top 10 games I am most looking forward to at Gen Con. For those of you that don't know, biggest board game convention in the United States, and a lot of upcoming games either debut to buy there or you can demo them and try them before they even come out in retail stores. So I am excited for it, as it is my very first convention. I'm excited to hang with the Table Knots crew and maybe meet other board game creators that I've watched and listened to over the years. And so I would love to meet lots of board game people. I'll be going there by myself. I've got all the time in the world there. So I'm excited to just play games, excited to check these ones out. And for those of you that don't know, I am debuting a new video idea at the end of every video. And I would love for you to give me your thoughts on what you think of that idea. I'd like to try new creative ideas coming up to mix up my content. And also, go check out my top 20 games of all time. I'm doing a giveaway for a free game I'll send to you. Check out that video for the details. With all that being said, here are the top 10 games I am most looking forward to at Gen Con, starting with my honorable mention. I've actually got two honorable mentions, but they're for the same reason. I love critters, I love animals, and any of those novels growing up, Redwall, Watership Down, even movies like The Rescuers and American Tail. I mean, if you put a critter and make him look like a human and act like a human, not look like one. That cat's real life movie was weird. Act like one. For whatever reason, that gets me. I love fantasy worlds with animal critters acting like humans. Two games that do that coming up. One, Maple Valley. It is the spin-off in the Creature Comforts world from Kids Table Board Game, one of my favorite publishers. They make really thematic games for kids and adults, for the whole family, which I love. And Creature Comforts, I'm really excited to try. I saw it at Duelin from Table Knots, his shelf. I really want to try it. And this is the spin-off, and it's going to be about traveling around, doing hand management, card collection, and I'm just excited it's in that world. But it is, leaned a little more towards kids, I think. So that's why it's just honorable mention. The other one is Fit to Print. Is a game about animal creators making newspapers. I don't know. I don't know the whole newspaper ideas, but if it's animals doing it, I'm here for it. Plus, it's Ian O'Toole artwork, who he's like one of the best board game artists in my opinion. So it's gonna look really cool. And it's like polyomino where you're placing tiles, which I don't love, but it's real time. Which, I know a lot of people don't like real-time games. That's where there's like, you just go. There's no turns. And I agree, because a lot of real-time games don't work that well. But the ones that do are just like phenomenal. I'm talking Project Elite, Captain Sonar. So if this works, I would definitely be here for it. It might be my go-to tile game. So my two honorable mentions, a couple caveats, and then we'll get into my number 10. My number 10 is a game that I have not heard any news about, but it is called Weirdwood Manor. And this game got me just based on the theme and the look and the idea. And it is all about a spooky manor. And ever since watching ScoobyDoo as a kid, Spooky Manor, I'm in. And it's about, you're in this spooky manor and you're different ghosts with asymmetrical abilities, so different abilities, and you're trying to defend it cooperatively from like other ghosts. And it looks awesome. So I've not heard anything about this, so it could not be that good, but like it looks good. So I'm excited to check it out. That is my number 10, Weirdwood. My number 9 is from a type of game I'm not necessarily super into, but I'm very interested in, and that is a game called Northgard Uncharted Lands. It is a Viking game, and it has really cool fantasy artwork. It looks like kind of like a Legend of Zelda world. I love that. And it is a 4X game, which for those of you that don't know is like really complicated, kind of big, grand games about building a civilization. So you do everything a civilization does. So it takes a while usually, and it's kind of complicated. And the 4X's are like expand, exterminate, and two other words with X in it. Explore. There's 3. You can let me know what 4. I would know because I've never played these games, because a lot of them like Twilight Imperium I want to, but they're so big and complex. I'm intimidated and I don't really have the group to play it. But Northgard promises to be more streamlined and quicker, and it's Vikings. So, I'm here for that, and I'm excited to try it and see if it lives up to the billing. That's my number 9, Northgard. My number 8 is a genre of games that I love, but a lot of them don't work. and that is the Hidden Traitor game. So it's different than social deduction, where some of you are secretly evil. It's where there's just one traitor and everyone else is working cooperatively. And a lot of games try this and don't necessarily work, but I love games that do work, like Shadows over Camelot, Dead of Winter, and this game promises that. It's called The Thing, the board game. Not a super original title, but it's based on that movie, and I think like scientists trying to escape this lab. And what's cool is one of you is the traitor, is trying to kind of like infect the other people, and you're going into these different rooms doing different actions. So that's really cool production, and I think a really cool theme of like one of you is secretly the monster. It kind of brings to mind Alien or like Nemesis, but that game is just like, it looks really complicated and fiddly to me. So maybe this is like the more streamlined, easier version, and I'm excited to try it. The Thing, the board game, my number 8. My number 7 is a genre of games that I love. Usually most people that aren't into board games is their favorite genre, and for whatever reason, people that are really into board games sometimes look down on it, but it's party games. And what I love about party games is, yes, they're simple and not always strategic or tactical, whatever those two words mean. But they're fun and they're easy to teach. And this game sounds like both of those things, and that is green team wins. And this is a very simple game from what I can tell. It's just like questions asked. You're trying to answer to be the answer that's in the majority. And if you do, you're on the green team. If not, you're on the orange team. And I just love the idea of that. I love trying to figure out what other people are going to say. And I'm sure it's going to bring hilarious moments when people have an answer that's completely off. And I've heard a lot of good buzz about it from board game YouTubers that I watch, and generally our tastes agree, so I'm excited to check it out. My number 7, green team wins. My number 6 is a game coming from CGE that always make really good strategic games, but they're also usually thematic with really good production. And that is a game called Starship Captains. And if you're like me, maybe you're not a Trekkie, but you know of Star Trek. And that's how I am. My mom was a Trekkie. I'm not, but I like some of the movies, and I like that world, that kind of idea. So it seems like CGE didn't want to have to pay for the Star Trek license, but you can tell this is Star Trek. But I love that, the idea of building this space fleet crew and building up your ship and exploring these different worlds, and that seems to be the whole game, is kind of upgrading your crew and your ship. So very kind of mechanical, but I like how that integrates with the theme. So I think it could be really cool. Maybe it could be the Star Trek game I've been looking for. I kind of want one in that area, but a lot of them, they don't really use the theme much, or they're really complicated and long. So this is hopefully going to be in that sweet spot, kind of middleweight, strategic. My number 6, Starship Captains. My number 5, going back to what I talked about earlier, I love ScoobyDoo. I do. I don't even care. Yes, I'm an adult and I don't have children. I would still watch ScoobyDoo. It is my favorite childhood show, and one of my few skills in life is I have the uncanny ability to guess the Scooby-Doo villain correct almost every time. I grew up watching this stuff, and Simon, one of my favorite companies, they make really cool minis with their games. They're making Scooby-Doo the board game. And I was a little hesitant because I was expecting it to be mystery, or solving a crime. And instead, it's all about cooperatively trying to trap the monster. So it's actually a cooperative game, much more like Pandemic. So that was kind of but I've researched it, and it looks really cool because all of the monsters and the villains, you do a different monster every time. And they all work different, but it's still a very easy game. All the gang members work different. You get to use the mystery machine. And it's Scooby-Doo. So I gotta try it. I'm really hoping I like it. I like Pandemic, and maybe this is like Pandemic with my favorite childhood TV show. So that would be awesome. I'm excited to check it out. My number 5, Scooby-Doo the board game. My number 4 is a board game that is a remake of one of my Grail games. Grail games being a game that I really want, but it's hard to get. It's expensive. Maybe it's old. And that is a game I've always wanted to play called Dream Factory. In other places, it's called Hollywood Blockbuster, Hollywood Golden Age, Traumfabrik. Been out under a lot of names. But it is a game all about making movies and trying to make the best movies, or sometimes the worst, and recruiting different stars and directors and movie titles and genres. And that theme is just incredibly interesting to me. Under a name called Nightmare Productions. So this is spinning that idea and making it all about a horror movie studio. And it looks to have really cool art and production. And I'm really excited to try one of my Grail games. Maybe get it. We'll see. I'm a little hesitant with the horror movies, but I love that theme, and it's a good auction game. I love bidding against each other if it works. My number 4, Nightmare Production. My number 3, based on what I think is one of the greatest movies of all time, objectively, Jurassic Park. Now, I have a game called Dinosaur World I really love about building a park, but this game actually has the Jurassic Park license, and that is Jurassic World, The Legacy of Isla Nublar. Yeah, I may have mispronounced that. But what's awesome about this game is it is a legacy game, which I think is really, really cool. It's from a company I really usually like their stuff. They're very thematic. They do a lot of IP. And I'm excited just to slowly build a dinosaur park over time cooperatively with a group of people. And legacy games, you're constantly finding new stuff, adding new rules. And so I'm really excited to try that out. It's one of my favorite movies of all time as the theme. That is my number 3, Jurassic World Legacy. My number 2 is another game in a genre I necessarily would be inclined to play, but it could be the game that gets it for me. That is like Northgard, except I'm more confident I will enjoy this one. And it is from Roy Cannaday, who's from the Dice Tower. I watched the Dice Tower, and it is called Last Light. And it promises to be that 4X kind of civilization, explore, exterminate, 2 other X's type game, but in like under 60 minutes, which sounds incredible. And it does that because you're simultaneously making moves with these different alien factions, I think. And that sounds great to me. I love the idea of it being streamlined but quicker, but not necessarily giving anything up in order to be shorter. And also, I love it has like a rotating board with like 3D planets that like float. It just looks cool too. So I love that idea. I would probably be terrible at it, but I'm excited to play it. That is my number 2, Last Light. My number 1, actually before I get to my number 1, I'll tell you about my video idea I'd like to try coming up. I would like to, probably with another board game YouTuber, I'd love to do a draft, maybe a couple people, and draft teams in whatever category you want to do. Cooperative games, real-time games, medium weight games, small games, and like draft the best games in that category, and then you guys have vote on who has the best list. I'd love to do that. And I'd also love to do with other creators, probably debate like the Mount Rushmore of different categories. So maybe like the best designers, best publishers, best classic games, best modern classics, and debate like what would be on the Mount Rushmore of board gaming. So let me know in the comments if you'd like either of those video ideas, or if you wouldn't, or let me know an idea you would like to see. Let's get to my number 1. My number 1 may not be a huge surprise. As you know, I love thematic games, I love IP, movies, TV, and I love CMON. I love the miniatures. I'm not a miniature gamer at all, but I like if they're in my game and if they're cool characters I recognize. And that is a game called Marvel Zombies. Zombicide 2.0, 2nd edition is behind me. I love Zombicide because it's this massive world of you're running around shooting zombies, but it's not that complicated. But it leads to really cool moments and stories. And then if it's Marvel superheroes, I mean, you can't beat that. The only downside is like there's going to be a million expansions and Kickstarter exclusives. So like I'm scared for my wallet because I have half of all of their Marvel United stuff. My other friend has the X-Men United, and that costs a bag. So I'm worried about my wallet, but besides that, I'm just excited for this game. There is also 2 modes. You can play as the zombies or as the heroes. I think I'm usually just going to play as the heroes. I just like that idea more. But I'm really excited for kind of this open world Marvel game with scenarios. It's not ideal that it's zombies, but I'm excited to try it. And I want to see also the kind of retail edition they're going to do, probably cheaper. And excited to see if that actually works, crossing Zombicide with Marvel. My number 1 game I'm most excited for at Gen Con, Marvel Zombies. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you like, comment, and subscribe, as every YouTuber says, but I've heard it helps, so do it. And hope, like, this would honestly blow my mind if I met someone at Gen Con that watched any of my videos. But that would be cool. But also, if you're another, board game YouTuber, I'd really like to meet you probably. And yeah, so I look forward to being at Gen Con and hopefully meet people. With all that being said, I will catch y'all